As international travel came to a near-complete standstill in 2020 due to the COVID-19 pandemic, the aviation industry suffered what it describes as the worst year in history for air travel demand. Well, however, in the third quarter of 2021, global travel activities rebounded sharply but remained far below pre-pandemic levels. With the emergence of the new Omicron variant across the world, the aviation travel industry recovery will remain volatile due to the travel ban imposed by various governments around the world as measures to contain the spread of the virus. In the meantime, the International Air Transport Association, IATA, has warned that the imposition of travel bans by various governments against the advice of the World Health Organization could threaten the sector's recovery. I have joining me live in our Lagos studio to talk more about this as a managing partner, Aglow Aviation Support Services Limited, Mr. Tayo Ojuri. Good afternoon, Mr. Ojuri. It's really good to see you.
Same here. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, while I thought things were getting better, yes, at least it was the third quarter, traveling everywhere, we were able to even go out of the country too, one way or the other. But we just saw Omicron coming in weeks after, and we're going back to restrictions, back to COVID-19 protocols and all of this. And this sector was hit, just like it was in 2020.
Yes.
Take us through the level of recovery we got to and where we are at the moment.
We had, back in summer 2021, we had a full rebound compared to 2020. We had lots of, actually in comparison to 2019, we had a full travel rebound. And domestic, actually, for Nigeria, domestic travel was already on the high. Actually, we'd seen an increase of about 54.5% compared to 2019 numbers. And looking back as well, we had seen a lot of travel during the summer months, during the Thanksgiving months, in the North American hemisphere. And we actually had the European travel all opened up as well, because you had that open up between North America and Europe. So after the COP26, you had a lot of things going on. And if you actually leapfrog that into December period, all the period is actually, end of the year period is actually traditionally high travel period for us in the aviation sector. You have the Hanukkah, you have the Christmas, you have the end of year celebration. Yeah, because the calendar year, January to February, is what most of the world goes by. So we actually had that, all the reservations and all the travel filled up. We have high expectations. Lo and behold, we had Omicron come up. And not that we've not gone through this route before, but what we've seen with Omicron was the fact that the governments actually went up and took a knee-jerk initiative, which was very detrimental and affected the aviation sector. You had lots of bans, especially to Nigeria. You had Canada, you had Saudi Arabia, you had the UK actually restrict travel in and out of Nigeria, or some form of travel restrictions. And that wasn't good for a lot of tickets and planning that had been done prior to this time. Don't forget, we have about 168 million Nigerians in diaspora. Lots of people come home for what you call life-changing events, birthday parties, cultural events, as well as, and just end of the year to see their projects and family. So, and that has been planned prior to. So when you actually have restriction or isolation 10 days after they come in, they had to cancel their travel. You see after a week or two, where this travel was lifted by the UK, some people, because of some real connections, still made that travel happen, but lots of people had to cancel that travel cancellation, that travel ticket, which now affects lots of the reservation on the domestic travel market within Nigeria, because we actually have about 45 to 48% of international travel market that actually dovetails into the domestic travel market in Nigeria during the Christmas period.
I'm also looking at the fact that at that particular time too, then we now heard of the UAE thing. That has even been on for some time. It was front and back and all of that. And later to also UK outrightly saying red list and all of that. Yes, that has been actually. Now, can we also talk about the direct effects of all of these moves on the sector? Because I don't know, are they just throwing that behind their back?
It's actually very volatile, and it's affecting, you still have, is affecting the operations of lots of the legacy foreign airlines. You have a British Airways, instead of their normal evening flight, they actually come in at 5:35 a.m. in the morning. So that's not actually, because you find there's a time lagging and lots of procedures for people for passengers going into the UK. You have lots of travel restrictions, you have lots of travel locator forms to be filled. So that inconvenience in that process is still a detrimental hindrance to travel and to activation of travel movement for passengers during this traditional holiday period.
IATA's projection before now, I think we're looking at 2023 to 2026 and all of that. With this delay and where we are at the moment, earlier we were talking about it, you talked about Netherlands and all of that, all shutting down restrictions and all of that. Do you think there could be a reprojection? How feasible is what we have on ground?
Prior to this time, without factoring Omicron, we had a kickoff time or kick back into normalcy pre-COVID for 2024, third quarter. However, what we're experiencing with Omicron, now we've not seen the last of it, because 2 days ago, we still had Netherlands shut down to January 14th. Japan has refused entry. China, which is a big player in the global industry, has restricted entry. And you find out that not only is that affecting passenger travel, is actually affecting commerce and cargo movement as well. Because you've seen in the last month or two, we had lots of issues with the cargo logistics and movement. And that's actually, we're not seeing it now in this quarter. We're going to see that impact affect us economically in the first quarter. And so to bring that home for us, we see that IATA has actually seen 60%. We're not going to actually come back to maybe 2026 like you project, but the loss to the aviation sector will be about 75% according to projections at the moment.
Are we looking at supports now from governments again? Are we going to go down that route again? We know we talked about this at that particular time. What sort of supports are these airliners and all of them and support service providers? How are they going to cope at this very critical time?
Interesting question, because we actually reviewed this. And that's, if you realize, we've gone through this route before. And the fact that most governments are very hesitant about shutting down the economy.
Yeah.
Because what we've seen lots of incentive and subventions given to the economy, especially to the aviation sector. We had about 400 million from a lot of millions and billions in the UK, in the US. You had Germany give about 8 billion euros to Lufthansa Group. And you find a lot, even French. It's KLM, France KLM. So you had lots of investment already, and those investments have not been repaid. They're still outstanding. So governments as the days cannot close down the economy. And aviation sector is a catalyst to the economic growth. So what they're seeing is use a science-based approach, a collaborative approach of saying, where are the challenges here? How can we reduce the spread? What do we know about this variant? And how can aviation be a mitigant towards the spread of it further? So those are the science-based and risk approach that governments are focusing at now, in line with WHO as well as IATA, to say, okay, let's test, let's retest, and let's have preventive measures. And we see that this has worked in the past. So we envisage that going forward, this will restrict the spread, as well as lots of vaccination, lots of supplementary jabs, we believe will reduce the spread.
Not just a knee-jerk approach, right?
Exactly.
That's not the way
Science-based
to
approach.
go. That's not the way to go. Now, I'm looking at airport concession, and we've been also talking about revamping our airports. We see a lot of work actually going on along that line. But I'm now thinking that, can we also use the opportunity to improve COVID protocols? We hear of fake vaccination cards. We hear of fake, a lot of fakes everywhere. Governor of Lagos State was out to talk about this, saying that they're going to come down on anyone that is, so what can we do at our level, our airports, to make sure that this is seamless and credible?
It's interestingly, COVID-19 has actually created a new normal. And with the new normal, it's not just the aviation sector.
Yes.
It's the whole sector within the garment and within the value chain. And we'll see, as aviation practitioners, we don't test. We have the laboratories and those scientific outlets that do the testing. So it's now for aviation, which has been done out there, to have a database. And that's what we have with the travel permit and the QR code platform, being able to integrate those test process into a database. So it's a single source of truth for all travelers to all countries and to all governments. That's going to help them, and that's going to actually provide visibility for those that are traveling, and have give reassurance to governments across the world, because they know that whatever vaccine, there are not many vaccine producers across the world, so it's a vaccine that we got from outside. It's easier to track and trace these vaccines because they have a scannable QR code attached to it. With that QR code, you're able to actually have a database where you can actually synchronize this process. Once that person is vaccinated or it's been tested and is free negative, we can actually be able to ensure that that person is good to travel. This has actually been something we've done before with the Advanced Passenger Information System after 9/11. So we're not reinventing the wheel. It's just something that we need to ensure that we're ensuring all our ducks are in a row, and so that it's ensure that we go back to normal life.
Going back to normal life, that will really take a while, and I think I really agree that that would take a while. It's really not easy traveling these days, Mr. Ojuri. I must tell you,
it's for the brave. It's
really not easy traveling these days. Now, I also stumbled on the issue. I read around this bilateral air transport services. I think it's BASA or something.
Yes.
And can you take us through how far we've gone with this? And someone's saying that the likes of Ghana, countries around us, might even benefit more from this.
It's a reciprocity agreement between countries where they open up their flights and the frequency of the flights, which can actually go from one country to the other. We have the population, we have the geographical location, we have a teeming number of people that like to travel and are willing to travel. We have the great attitude that never give up, so we travel. However, the legacy airlines, the international airlines, come here in droves. We do not have the equipment and the airlines to reciprocate those flights. So that's where the challenge is, because they come in, they have high frequencies, some of them up to 21 frequencies, which has been an issue per week. And if you multiply that by the number of passengers, it's a huge lot of outflow. Tie that to the number of amount that is outstanding, about $600 million that is stuck within Nigeria that the foreign airlines cannot take out, which is making the price of ticket out of Nigeria more expensive. So you find out we don't have airlines in Nigeria to reciprocate that frequency. So it's actually skewed negatively towards Nigeria. What can be done? Policy statements and policy initiatives that will improve Nigerian airlines. We already have players now. It's for them to have good operation platforms so that they can actually they have a lot of connectivity in Nigeria now. Secondary airports opening up, now regional connectivity opening up, and we can have strategic or technical partners to actually go outside of regional flight, sub-region, into international, so we're able to actually match and compete internationally. Would that happen overnight? No. So what can we do prior is to reevaluate the BASA agreements. How because it's all about interest. We have to protect our interest. If we're not able to meet those routes and the frequency, can you, for those 21 routes, if I'm doing 7, and we match 7 for 7 routes out of Nigeria, 7 routes, if I'm not able to do the rest of those routes, then for those routes that you have more than me, then you'll pay to the Nigerian government. And that's what we had that before, where we had the BASA fund. Because you're having an economic advantage over Nigeria. So what you're gaining in operations, in finances, you're able to actually put it into Nigerian coffers, and hopefully that will be used to develop infrastructure, which was something you mentioned about. Infrastructural development.
Yes.
And being able to have the base of infrastructural development within Nigeria, lots of connectivity, airports, light of navigational aids, top-notch centers of hubs would actually grow airlines to start. We have, if you develop more MROs, maintenance, repair organizations, and the cost of operations is reduced, that would ensure that more airlines start and they're able to actually compete effectively, commercially, safe and secured with foreign airlines.
Interesting one there. I was also thinking that when we talk about airlines that are being challenged, of course, funding comes in, and we've talked about that partly. I'm also looking at servicing. We've seen, let me say, a good time now, at least a little bit of reduction in issues around crashes and all of that. I think aircrafts are properly being maintained now. I think we support a little bit, I think, from all. Yeah, that's the truth. It's better than what we used to have. What's happening with regards to Forex and other challenges facing the sector?
Let's talk about safety is still something
very important.
We put its forefront for us in aviation.
Yeah.
Safety is everybody's business, and we have to reassure passengers that safety is being done. We have a very independent Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, and the airworthiness. You've seen lots of airlines actually grounded earlier. So it's not a matter of we do it the anyhowness of Nigeria. No. We ensure that we go over and beyond because aviation is a global practice.
Yeah, it is.
So, having said that, what we need to realize is the other part, the cost of Forex is still high. We're going to the same markets with the normal person, considering 70 to 80% of our operations is dollarized. From the aircraft lease agreements or the purchase agreements to the maintenance and operations, even to the daily fueling and training is all dollarized. We don't have aviation simulation for cabin crew or the flight crew in Nigeria. So they have to go out. They have to be dollarized. So that all adds up. So how are we able to match that? So what we do is we're still able, there's a central bank which we're not been able to be adequately funded as per the request they've put in. It's a challenge. So what we've seen is lots of equipment that needs to have come in good time after going out for service is not. And that's actually where there's a challenge with lots of frequencies and the delay in the process. So if we're able to have enough dollars that are paying for this equipment to come in, as at when due, that we actually have equipment to meet the capacity of the domestic passengers that are flying. And I must say this, the flying capacity, the propensity of those traveling within the domestic sector has increased. They've increased, and we've seen lots of people traveling now. So fuel price has gone up. So with the challenge of the increase of fuel price too, we see that it's affecting the cost of operations. But with that all, if you have an edged opportunity where fixed price or reduced fuel price throughout the year, because we're open to the volatility of the dollar with the Jet A1. If we have a fixed price, that's going to help us with the operational planning.
So let's wrap up with this. All things being equal, let's project first quarter next year, and as a headway, let's look at where Omicron takes us to. What do you think? What are your projections for the sector as we move in 2022?
We're already going against headwind. We're really going against headwind. Our budget, our income in Nigeria is not only is 60 to 70% fixed on oil. the price on oil is going down due to Omicron.
Yeah, true.
So with that, it's going to affect the budget, but government is still the biggest spender, and that's what drives those triangular routes of Lagos, Abuja, and Port Harcourt. So Port Harcourt is the oil, Abuja is the government, so Lagos is the commercial city. So to say that in overview of that, we're going to have a bit of a headwind in first quarter. The numbers are going to reduce, and then we're going to see lots of, based on Omicron, I believe we're not going to see lots of death due to Omicron because we know the process now based on science. And so we're going to see the pickup from that lesson learned, and then we're going to pick up in second quarter, but we're not going to make profit till 2024.
Amos, thank you so much. It's always interesting talking to you, Mr. Tayo Ojuri. Thank you so much. Managing Partner, Aglow Aviation Support Services Limited. Do enjoy the rest of your day and have a great Christmas.
Have a Merry Christmas.